Yeah. And while we're doing that, I can retweet this on Twitter, get more eyeballs. I just needed time to do what I had to do. Caught in real life, I can't let it go. But that's fine. I will never go. When I was running my walls, you tell me stay at the wall. Automatic weapons on the floor, but who can you call? My damn bitch. Oh, okay, I'm about to say, am I kicked off? What the fuck? Okay, I found it. Alrighty, y'all. Welcome to another Let Us Explain. Me and Gabby are here. The great Gabby, the star child that she is. And we are matching. And y'all will be able to see that in just a second once I put us on the screen. But she has like a mustard yellow on almost. And I'm kind of wearing some yellow myself. So black and gold, two of my favorite colors. So it feels very majestic. And we're covering a very great and a very necessary topic, especially with all the craziness that's going on in our world today and the wildness. We need a little bit of luck, charm, and generosity in our life. And that's what we'll be discussing today. Jupiter. We're finally to the planet Jupiter. Then we have Lilith and Midheaven coming up a week from now. We'll have that going on. So that should be awesome.
Lilith and Vertex.
What's that?
Lilith and Vertex.
Vertex. I'm sorry.
No, it's okay.
Lilith and Vertex. Yep. Sorry, not the Midheaven. Lilith and Vertex, guys. I'm sorry, I misspoke. Thank you, Gabby, for the correction on that. I think we're getting to Midheaven later down the line, I believe. Yeah. So, welcome, Gabs. Gab's been awesome the last 24 hours. She came in yesterday and had kind of the blow-off thing we had yesterday. She donated today. She's been great. She brought a lot of positive energy to yesterday's episode. Even people was coming to me after the fact talking about, that Gabby girl is great. I was like, yeah, she is. So Gabs, that's what we got going on. So thank you for that. As always, Gabby in the building, y'all. Yes, indeed. She's here. So, Gabs, we're going to start off with Jupiter today. And for the people that don't know, Jupiter is basically, in astrology, Jupiter is the planet of luck, fortune, success, and generosity, a kind and abundant force for good in the universe. Jupiter is expansive, big thinking, healthy, wealthy, and powerful, an engine of achievement and success. In Greek mythology, Jupiter was aligned with Zeus, the king of gods. Kind of a promiscuous type of archetype, generally speaking, took a lot of risks, but at the same time was very generous and open-minded and, unsatiated when it comes to learning. And that sounds like the person we're going to start off with first, which is ruled by, and me and Gabby haven't really extensively went into detail about planets that rule this and planets that rule that. We'll get to that in due time. But today we're going to start off with the planet that's ruled by Jupiter, and that's Sagittarius. And these are some of the luckiest bastards I ever met in my life. They're very lucky because they'll get into some shit and figure out a way to get out. And they never really have an itinerary, and I think that's why I'm so envious of it. I'm joking. I'm totally not. But they are very lucky. Very lucky zodiac signs because they live by acting. They live by, let's just see where things go. That don't vibe well with some people like Tauruses, for example. They like to have a plan, an itinerary. Virgos will be another one. Cancers to a certain extent. Capricorns, people like that. Like they like to know where they're going with things. But Sag, they find a way to blend all this madness together and make it work. So a few things. We'll probably keep the way we got it going like last week where I'll read the little thing, then we'll pass to Gabby to go to details. That seems to be a pretty workable structure, so we'll keep it that way.
Yeah, we can do that.
So Jupiter and Sagittarius, the meaning of it. What does Jupiter and Sagittarius mean? These people love to travel and are ready to take risks if the task is challenging enough. And of course, they're of the fire element and of the modality mutable. In other words, basically means it's like shifting fire. They change careers, they change partners, they change experiences. They're like Gemini's feisty little brother, basically, where they a lot of similarities between the two. It's just one's a fire element, the other one's an air, and they complement each other well. So some celebrities with Jupiter and Sagittarius, and if I laugh because the first person I saw, Hillary Clinton, Antonio Banderas, Robert Redford, Silvio, and I do not know how to say the last name, Berlusconi, and Simon Cowell. Of course, he was the douchebag that was on American Idol. So positive character keywords associated with Jupiter and Sagittarius: spiritual, spontaneous, intellectual, competitive, lively. Negative words for Jupiter and Sagittarius: confused, messy, scattered, irrational, and forgetful. So make sure y'all work on those things, because other than that, y'all sound pretty awesome. This sounds like a great placement to have in your chart. What say you, Gabby?
I kind of can agree with that. They definitely have this ability to be very everywhere but close all at the same time. It's like they have their cards in their hands and they know what to do, and they just expect other people just to follow in a certain suit. Not with Jupiter itself, but Sagittarius as a whole. They're really good about lifting up people with their inspirational speeches, especially when they're linked with Jupiter in Sagittarius. They love to share what they've learned in life with others. And they just as much as they love to teach, they love to receive it back so much more. It kind of helps them feel like they're getting something out of it. They have very strong beliefs, especially Jupiter and Sagittarius. And they choose to follow a life that is with those beliefs. The low point of an unbalanced Sagittarius and Jupiter would be that they start to be a little bit self-centered. So that's just something they need to work on, which means they just need to know have more of an optimistic outlook on life, as well as a little bit of freedom. They need to know what that looks like so they can actually do that as well as what they're doing for others. So.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's very interesting, and you put the head on the nail, because I've experienced people that had I've dated a couple of Jupiter and Sagittarius, Sagittarius in general, but they had that double placement there. There'll be a Sag with a Jupiter and Sagittarius, and that's something that they just had to work on. You know what I mean? The self-centeredness. It's a fire sign thing in general, because I also mine is in Leo, so my Jupiter is in Leo. That's another Leo placement for me. And I've checked a couple things over time, and I've learned things, and it's just one of those things that you learn if you're. If you're conscientious of it, you'll learn over it. So moving forward to the next one, the sister, as I said, of Sagittarius, and that's Gemini, a sign that I have very challenging relationship with across the board, no matter what placement it is. The only one I can tolerate a tad bit is Gemini moons. Those are the only Gemini placement that I can kind of tolerate a little bit. But with the meaning of this Gemini Jupiter, what does it mean to have displacement? So Jupiter and Gemini is luck, career, love, and much more. Kind of more expansive and versatile, which is keywords that's generally associated with Gemini anyway. So they're elements of air and mutable. They're probably the most changeable because winds shift often and changes course a lot, which is basically a Gemini. So some celebrities with these placements: Salman Khan, Grace Kelly, Cindy Crawford, Clint Eastwood, and Bjork. Positive characteristics with Gemini Jupiter: creative, fast-paced, social, stimulating, knowledgeable, and witty. Negative keywords associated: flighty, overburdened, harsh, critical, and irrational. A lot of artists have this type of placement based off what I've seen. But what say you, Gabby?
I'm kind of they're very from my own experience with Jupiter and Gemini, they are very sociable creatures. Like they just like being around people, being sociable, engaging. They don't like the disconnect. They want to continue the conversation as long as possible if they're entertained with it. They're good with communication, which is really good because Gemini is part of yeah, hold on, my brain just went flat. Um, with Mercury, so Mercury and Gemini kind of coincide with each other, so it's kind of cool to see it actually go into a teaching kind of thing with Jupiter. So I do notice that a lot of them learning is good for them, especially with this placement. It helps them feel good about the decisions that they make when they're using their mind. They adapt to circumstances more easily, and that puts them in good positions and situations. Now, it is good for them to try to be friendly and honest because sometimes that can be a little bit hard when you're unbalanced as a Gemini and Jupiter. But they get better at it as they mature. So
Interesting. Okay. So we'll push forward with the next one. I don't know too many people with this placement, so I can't speak directly. I've done research on these people, and what pretty much I read about it and what Gabby elaborated pretty much sounds like all the ones I've read about. The next one is now we get into the practical earth sign of the mutable signs. And now we're at Virgo. This is another challenging one. They kind of so it's a unnecessary pettiness to them. I know quite a few people with displacement because they were born around the same time I was, between like 1989 and 1992. This is a frequent placement with people that's born within that time, based off of what I've researched. A lot of my friends pretty much have this placement. A lot of people I went to high school had this placement. So Jupiter and Virgo, these people are very particular about any task they take on and will complete it to perfection. That's the word I have an issue with, perfection, because I don't believe it exists. I believe in optimism, but making something as optimal as possible with perfection, that doesn't really exist in my head. So element, of course, they're of the earth and immutable quality. Like I said, I always liken them to clay. They like to mold life and things and situations to what they want it to be. And that can be challenging for people that kind of want more room to breathe, more room to be more open for change, and room to, like, learn things at their own pace. This can be a challenge for Virgos because they like to control and they like things to be their way for the most part. Celebrities with this particular placement, Jacquees Chirac, I don't know who that is, Yoko Ono, Julia Roberts, Tom Hanks, and Osama bin Laden. Wow. Positive keywords associated with these people: productive, harmonious, helpful, healing, insightful, and moral. Negative characteristics, which is generally with most Virgos: critical, hurtful, harsh, petty, and annoying. Those last two things really bother me. Petty and annoying, I cannot tolerate. But that's kind of the thing with these people. What say you, Gabby?
Yeah, Virgos are very practical beings, but it's practical with a sense of structure. At least that's what I've noticed with most of the Virgos in my life. With Jupiter placement, it's definitely in need. They need the structure in order for them to succeed or for them to feel successful. They are really looking into the details to kind of help accomplish what they want, but sometimes they can get lost in it. That's another key vital point with Virgos. They kind of get lost in what they're doing very quickly. So sometimes they need somebody that's going to like bring them out of that so that they can actually have a fresh set of eyes on what they're accomplishing. I did notice with the Jupiter placement, they definitely are really, really hard workers, good problem solvers. They have many skills and values to help kind of get their luck in the right position. But that's just when they're balanced. It's a lot easier for them to get exactly what they're looking for because they're not being as like detail oriented and sticking to only the details that they only see. If they have somebody else in their corner giving them some room to breathe, it's a lot easier for a balanced Virgo to kind of already know what they are needing to do next because the structure is already there from different points of view.
Absolutely. And that's a perfect way you just put it. Now, some signs that I find that have a challenging placement with this are usually air signs. Like if you have an air sun sign or air moon and you have a Jupiter in Virgo, you're going to be a very conflictual person. Like they're going to be kind of like indecisive about a lot of things, especially Libras. because I know a couple Libra friends with this placement, and they need exactly what you just said at the tail end of your statement about having someone else there so they can kind of like be able to breathe. That's big with those type of people who are already kind of what's the word to look for, indecisive anyway. It doesn't help with when they have another sign added that kind of help them overthink. It's almost like having a moon in a Virgo and you have an air sun. It's a complicated placement. Exactly. Pushing forward, now we get into the emotional water side.
Oh, Pisces.
I know a couple people with this placement. Pisces, yep, Gabby hit right on the head. Jupiter and Pisces. What does it mean? These people are very emphatic and will go out of their way to help people in need. And they are of the water immutable quality, water element, mutable modality. In other words, they're kind of like they can be fickle with their emotions at times. They can change phases a lot. But they're good people. They don't mean any harm. It's just like their kind of nature to switch things up and being, easily pulled in different directions because they're trying to help everybody type thing. Some positive keywords with this particular placement: emphatic, imaginative, healing, helpful, and devoted. Negative keywords: escapist, unreliable, overly sensitive, and dreamy. What say you, Gabby?
That is very true about Pisces. They're escape artists. They just no, it's just true. I've noticed this is our business. They have been doing it. Their placement happens to be in Jupiter, mind you, but their sun sign is Pisces.
Hold on, let me see what I can do about this. God damn it! It only happens on me and Gabby Wednesday shows. What's going on? 1 second. Let me try to refresh this thing here. Hold on. Uh-oh, we still got something going on there. Gabs, I can't hear you at all. I don't know if it's your speakers or what. I can't even hear you.
Okay.
Maybe try to refresh on your end and see if that helps.